All right, the NFL draft is over, so let's talk about a few fantasy players who actually got a little bit of a bump in value after the draft. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hope all is well out there in YouTube land. Today, we're going to be talking about a few players whose value actually went up. You'll see a lot of videos, and I'll do one here later also, about people whose value took a hit with all these incoming rookies. But today, I want to focus on a few names that actually got a little bit better. They may have a little bit better season now with the incoming rookies that they have on their team. And like usual, I'm not going to waste a whole lot of your time, so let's get right into this list. Number one on my list is going to be Larry Fitzgerald, and I know I've talked about him before, but I'm going to talk about him again. Listen, the Cardinals just got Josh Rosen and Christian Kirk. I wasn't totally high on Josh Rosen pre-draft if you've watched the previous videos, but he fell to the perfect spot. Arizona's a great spot for him. They got weapons, on the offensive side of the ball with David Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk. They got weapons. They got a few pieces that they can play with, and he's probably going to get a chance to start. Now, Bradford may start week one. That's kind of what they want to say, but whether that actually happens after the preseason, we'll have to see. But even if Bradford does start, week two they play the Rams, and I fear for his life. Bradford will not make it out of week two if he's playing. Therefore, you kind of look at Josh Rosen to come in a little bit early, have a good opportunity, and it's an upgrade for Larry Fitzgerald. Now, I've been high on Larry Fitzgerald in the past, and I'm still high on him. But now I got even more reason to be high on him, which means you should too. Number two, Mitch Trubisky in Chicago. And these are in no numerical order. I'm numbering them, but they're not in any order. Just thought I'd throw that in there. But anyway, Mitch Trubisky here at number two on my list. They added Anthony Miller out of Memphis. You probably don't even know who Anthony Miller is unless you really followed college football or did a lot of, pre-draft tape watching, which you guys probably didn't do because that's what I have to do. That's not what you have to do. But let me tell you, this kid plays with a chip on his shoulder. He plays angry, and he plays bigger than he really is. He's not a huge receiver. He's just under 6 foot tall, but he plays bigger. He's not extremely fast, but he's quick. And he's got good hands. Sometimes he'll struggle with the easy ones, but make the huge plays down the field. He's a great weapon for Mitch Trubisky in Chicago. They got Allen Robinson on the other side. They got Taylor Gabriel probably in the slot. They still got Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard in a much improved offense in Chicago. I like this pick of Anthony Miller. And you probably never heard of him, like I said. But be excited, because I'm telling you, the kid's good, and he's really going to help out Mitch Trubisky. Number three is going to be Joe Mixon in Cincinnati. And I think I've mentioned Mixon in the past. And they helped their offensive line here in the offseason a little bit. They got Cordy Glenn from Buffalo, and they just drafted Billy Price, who is listed as a center. Whether he stays at center or moves to the guard position, we'll find out here in preseason. But regardless, they've upgraded their offensive line. Now, yes, they did take a running back out of Miami in the later rounds of the draft, but don't worry. He's not going to take carries away from Joe Mixon at the beginning. He's kind of like a Gio Bernard clone. So if anything, I'd expect Gio Bernard to be moved on here in the next year or so and the rookie take over. He's cheaper, right? If you're going to get the same, you just pay less money. It's like good business. But anyway, Joe Mixon's going to have a great year. Well, at least he's primed to have a big year. I'm targeting Joe Mixon in a lot of my leagues just for the potential upside alone. The improved offensive line only helps. And at some point, Marvin Lewis has to do something in Cincinnati. Otherwise, he's going to be unemployed, which he should probably be unemployed anyway. But he's not still, so he's going to have to try to win some ball games. They're going to have to win it on the offensive side of the ball. I'm looking for Joe Mixon to have a good year with that improved offensive line. Number four on my list is going to be out in Dallas, and that's Dak Prescott. But Jake, he lost Dez Bryant. I don't care. I don't care at all. I'm not a huge Dez Bryant fan, but I'm not against Dez Bryant. But let's be real. Dez was not a Dak guy. Dak felt like he had to force the ball to Dez, which kind of, hampered his game a little bit. Now, Dez is a great talent, and he'll find work somewhere else. But Dallas just drafted Michael Gallup out of New Mexico State. I'm super high on Michael Gallup, and he kind of plays like Dez Bryant. He's a little bit smaller, not by much. Great possession receiver, likes the 50-50 balls, and you're going to like him out in Dallas. I mean, he's got more weapons than you think. Allen Hurns is still there. They just got rid of Ryan Switzer, which means Beasley's going to Beasley. Or Beasley's going to whatever. Cole Beasley's going to be in the slot. And then you got Michael Gallup on the other side with Zeke in the backfield. Now Witten may retire. Fire up Rico Gathers. And Dak's going to have weapons everywhere again. The offensive line is still going to be great. And he's going to have a potential big year. Right now he's just outside the top 15. But with this added weapon in Dallas, he's fringe top 10 to me. Number 5 is going to be another quarterback, and it's going to be Case Keenum out in Denver. I listed him in one of my previous videos as one of the sleepers this year, and it only got better in the draft. We kind of thought Denver may go quarterback at some time, but they just decided to go wide receiver like all over the place. After Chubb fell to him in the first round, they followed it up with Cortland Sutton. And now they got Sutton, Demaryius Thomas, and Emmanuel Sanders, which sounds great. And then they drafted Deshaun Hamilton, who's like another Emmanuel Sanders. So I kind of look for Emmanuel Sanders to be moved at some point. But Case Keenum's got all kinds of options on the outside and in the slot. He's got weapons everywhere. And then they drafted Royce Freeman. Who's Royce Freeman, you ask? Running back out of Oregon. And he's a 3-down back. I'm going to talk about him in a later video here, but Royce Freeman is a potential breakout for 2018 also. He's going to have all the opportunity in the world. He can play all 3 downs, and Devontae Booker's really not going to challenge for carries. It's Devontae Booker. I mean, come on. He's had his chance and didn't do anything with it. But Case Keenum's going to benefit from it. He's going to have a solid running game, weapons all over on the outside, and it's only going to get better for him in Denver. Being that they didn't really take a quarterback to take his place, the job is his all year long, and he's probably going to make the most of it. Definitely like some Case Keenum this year. Number 6 on my list is going to be Eli Manning, and I'm kind of going to put Saquon Barkley in here with it. I'm going to kind of pair him up. I know this is supposed to be existing fantasy players, but I'm going to pair them up, and I'll tell you why. The offensive line in New York is much improved with Nate Solder coming over from New England, and then the draft acquisition of Will Hernandez, who is the equivalent to like a Tonka truck. The dude is huge and just paves paths. That's hard to say. Paves paths everywhere. And that's really going to benefit Saquon Barkley in the running game. And that's going to give Eli Manning a little bit more time on the outside. Now, there's rumors of Dez going to New York. And it's possible that it happens, but we don't know. But even if it doesn't, you still got Sterling Shepard, Odell Beckham, Evan Ingram, Saquon. I mean, he's got plenty of options. And they like to spread it around, and Odell's going to get his. But if you're in a 2QB league or a super flex league or you got huge roster spots and a huge bench and you have the ability to pick somebody up, Eli Manning's going to benefit from this. He's well worth a roster spot unless you only need one quarterback. Then there's better options. But Eli Manning's going to have a great year, and I look for New York to kind of make a run at things this year. Number 7 on my list is going to be Jimmy Garoppolo, and if I haven't talked you into drafting him by now, something is wrong. Okay, something's wrong. You need to get Jimmy G. Not early, not super early. I mean, he's ranked number 10 right now, so you can get him a little later. But Jimmy G, to me, is going to have a huge year. They just shored up their offensive line with Mike McGlinchey, I think is how you say it, who's going to be learning right there on the offensive line. May not get a chance right away, but one of the best offensive linemen in the draft. And they followed it up with Dante Pettis. You probably haven't heard of Dante Pettis, but he's a great option in San Francisco for Jimmy G. So now they got Pierre Garçon, Marquise Goodwin, Dante Pettis, and I've already told you about George Kittle in previous videos. So Jimmy G is going to have plenty of options, way more than he had the last 5 games of last season. A shored-up offensive line to protect him. Dude's going to go off. I mean, way off. Like, maybe Jared Goff-ish from last year. I mean, Jimmy G to me is way better than Jared Goff. He just didn't have the weapons. He's getting the weapons here slowly, and I'm looking for him to have a huge year. Jimmy G is going to be one of my top targets for quarterback in the mid-rounds. All right, guys, those were a few of my existing players here who just got a value bump after the draft. If I didn't cover somebody you guys want to hear about, like usual, hit me up in the comments. Love to hear from you. Really appreciate the support. I will make sure that I get to every comment that I'm asked. Personally, I'll answer them. Like, I will sit here on my lap. I will type it to you. I'll answer all of them. So make sure you guys are hitting me up. Make sure you're liking, commenting, subscribing. Really appreciate everything. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye.